Hello. I'm quite new to using the video format in our class forums, so bear with me as I try to work without a teleprompter and read from my script here. I've opted to deal with each of the three questions in the video portion of the post in order, starting with number one. What are my impressions of the National Environmental Policy Act? First, let me say that I've not had much experience with this piece of legislation outside of our classes and our previous environmental law course. I am, however, more familiar with the history of the environmental legislative barrage of the early 70s and the public outcry that led up to this law. In that this is considered the seminal piece of legislation that led to the subsequent laws that produced the EPA, Clean Water, etc., I am impressed with the power entailed in this rather short law. Number two, what distinguishes the National Environmental Policy Act from other laws? Although I am no legal scholar, the mere fact that this law demands that all agencies of the federal government are to follow the policies of the Act seems to be a quite sweeping move on the part of that Congress. It is also distinguished, although not alone, in creating a large new federal bureaucracy with significant power and over these other agencies. We may, I am certain, be discussing its effectiveness in the next few weeks, but it is quite obvious that the 1969 Congress meant business when it established this legislation. Number three, did anything about this law surprise you? I was quite taken aback at the brevity of the law. As an educator, I feel it is a good move to have us all read through the law in its entirety, but when I was reading this week's assignments, I was a bit overwhelmed that we had to read through the law in its entirety. It's been a busy week. It was a pleasant surprise that this Magna Carta of environmental legislation, in fact, turned out to be a relatively short tome. Was it what I expected? Can I explain? Quite honestly, I really wasn't quite sure what to expect, but although it did contain the variety of legal verbiage I thought it would, it was actually much more readable than I expected it to be. It wasn't overwhelming at all. In closing, I look forward to learning more about this very important piece of legislation and the part it will play in my future and your future as an environmental specialist, and particularly my future as an environmental educator. Thank you for listening to my video, and I hope to get to know you all a little bit more when I read about you and the video format opens up so I can see who I'm working with in case I saw some of you before. Thank you.